Now, let's get a discussion going. I have here Nana Otuansan the first, and he's a developmental chief in the Ekrapim area, known in private life as Daniel Ni Kwate Titus Glover, well clad in warrior attire this morning, helping us mark Ghana month. He's been dressing all over as the Sebona, etc. Good morning to you. He's a newly appointed Deputy Managing Director for VALCO, a former Member of Parliament for Tema East, former Deputy Minister for Transport, and the accolades go on and on. Good morning to you.
Good morning, my brother Roland. How are you?
Fine.
Where are beautiful ladies?
They're around.
I miss them. I miss them.
Cookie is on leave.
Okay,
so,
she needs it.
yes,
she needs it.
She's on leave. She'll be back
You
soon.
need to take a break.
And then we have also the Director for International Relations for the NDC, a former chair for the UK Ireland branch of the NDC as well, former Minister for Health, Alice Segbafia. I didn't know he had a middle name called Percival.
Oh, he's always
That was a great one. I'm sure that one they picked up from Wikipedia.
Good morning to
Yeah,
you.
certainly. It's not very popular. How are you?
He's
Morning,
the chairman
Roland.
of the
I'm
Elections
good.
Committee.
He's the chairman for the NDC's election committee.
For the National Election.
National Election
Not
Committee.
the-
Oh, the one that was organized.
Yes.
And you didn't whip your MPs into line, sir.
That is not my duty. They have a whip and they refuse to listen. So that's another matter.
I'm sure that must have been a big disappointment.
That's an understatement.
It is?
Yes, it's more than a disappointment.
What was the reaction on your pages? I mean, even private conversation.
We look, from where we are sitting, when the international community, the rest of the country, civil society organizations, pastors, the leadership of the party say to you, we have sent out a message. This government is too big for the condition we are in. What all this justification about friendship, lack of communication, is all doesn't hold. It was wrong. They owe us an apology. And in fairness, let me make it clear that it's not all of them. Many of them did what was required. But for those who didn't, it is wrong. This was one whip that was essential to make a point to the government that we say is not a listening government, but more importantly, to let our finances fall into and give the optics that as Ghanaians, we are not happy with what is going on. And our MPs let us down, period. That's where I'm coming from.
This is the first time I'm hearing a high-ranking official of one of the two parties saying that the MPs in Parliament, because of a constitutional, a constitutional mandate that they undertook, at least would need to apologize. Why should they apologize?
Look, we have a whip system in both parties.
True.
If you feel that your independent views are always that must go and contest independent. That option is there in our books. You want contest on the ticket of a party. It doesn't take away your right of independence. But at the same time, you have to look at the generality. And that's why I gave you the plethora of the Ghanaian community, international community. Everybody has been saying the size of government is too much. If you have a situation where 2 or 3 ministers have moved, it was the perfect opportunity for the president to just reshuffle, align ministries, or give people different duties without trying to replace them. Because everybody's been saying the size of government is too big. And for everybody to be screaming about it, and especially us in opposition, and we come out, it wasn't even close. Roland, it wasn't even close. This idea of, what happened with the Speaker of Parliament, we got him through by the skin of our teeth. 1 vote. So now you go and look who was there. 30, 40 MPs doing what? They met with the leadership of the party. They met with the former president of the party. People had spoken. They had even been their own colleagues who had been on air and said the same thing. For me, it was a complete betrayal of what were we asking for? It's an appointment. This is not a bill that has certain controversial issues where people are saying, oh, yes. No. These are appointments. And as an opposition, we had a duty to the country to make it clear to leadership that this was not on. And I've heard all the arguments about relationships in Parliament, and we...
but is that not true? They have great relationships.
So we also have an opinion, and our opinion is that they didn't do right.
Okay. I have heard some other argument from Honorable Titus Glover, from your side, that it was because the lobbying system was strong on these subjects or on the subjects. What do you make of it?
Let me take the opportunity to say a big thank you to you for the platform you've given me, and to say good morning to your viewers. And also, today marks the birthday of His Excellency the President. Oh. And let me wish him God's blessings, more grace, good health to govern us till his term. I'm so proud of him for how far he has brought this country. I'm so grateful to learn politically under his feet, and also for the appointment he has given me. Let me say good morning to my elder brother and senior. It's been a while. And sitting back and watching the drama last week Friday, and the commentary that has generated a heat in the camp of the NDC, this is not the first time.
No.
I recall in 2021 when Opon Nkrumah
And co.
my sister Mavis Howard Compson and my senior Akutu, Ifri Yakutu, a Greek, were being passed. There was similar instructions not to bother to approve them and all that. There has been a vacuum. Alan Chermatin has resigned for other ambitions. The Agri Minister also did same. And that vacuum that has been created must be filled by His Excellency the President. So the NDC is saying that the Trade Ministry and the Agri Ministry and what the President has done by the constitutional provision should not be respected. And for that matter, they should disapprove of the people. When you listen to the argument, because the numbers were more in our first term, and the President reduced it, it dwindled almost close to about 86. Morally, the NDC, my senior is here, he was health minister under John Mama. They had 85 ministers and deputy ministers, regional ministers and deputy regional ministers. At that time, the region were 10. At that time, the regions were 10. So, if they've been vetted, and the MDC members on the committee, right at the committee level, they went and sat. If you say you don't want to approve the people, what is the border going to sit at the appointment committee? I served in that committee for 8 years in my 2 terms in Parliament. If you don't want to approve the people, there was no basis to go and sit at the committee meeting to ask them questions and to quiz them. Then came to the plenary. All the reports presented by the chairman, the debate and everything were done. In Belarus, we can do voice votes. We can do secret ballots. And that was exactly what was done. So, for the NDC saying that we want to send a signal to Ghanaians, say NDC members, don't say Ghanaians. Say your members, not Ghanaians.
You think the intent of the NDC,
Please,
being that the size of government is bloated at a time when we've run off to the IMF, and whilst we're cap in hand begging the IMF, we're not even at the doorstep of the board to get that approval. And so we've even, alongside, even use back doors to go to China to make sure that we're in a good stead with them before we come back onto the table with the IMF to get that
Roland
approval.
Walker.
You don't think that
Roland
it's
Walker.
a very cogent argument to make?
Roland Walker, the understanding or the position of my brothers in the NDC pushing may be legit. Two of us, most of us, we are fortunate. We've been minister and deputy minister. I can tell you the budget of ministers and deputy ministers is here.
Is it not for the optics?
Please.
Is it not for the optics?
Please, cool down. Don't start your mischief.
It's not mischief.
Please, cool
You
down.
don't think that
Please,
it is for the
cool
optics?
down. Allow me to flow. Don't spark me.
No,
this
I'm
way.
asking you, you don't think it's for the optics?
What is good for the optics?
If a commitment is made by the president in reducing the number
From
of ministers,
120, and he has reduced it to 86.
and the argument is that the
Please, and there
president
are
needs to
vacancies.
reduce it further.
By the constitutional provision, there's vacancy. And he's filling the vacancy. 3 of his ministers, 2 senior ministers, and 1 had a problem. And he left. 3. And the president decided to make an adjustment and fill it. What is wrong about it? When I was a deputy minister, you know my fuel? A month, I take 1,400. A month, 1,400. I was paid from Parliament.
These numbers you're churning out.
It is important sometimes to let us, the public, know. Let us not present a picture as
But is it not immaterial to
But
the
please,
argument?
What do you mean it's not immaterial? It is very material.
How?
That is why you are saying that it's becoming expensive. And I'm saying that, thankfully, my senior here has been a minister for health. He will tell you. He will tell you what it is. He never lived in his own government bungalow. He lived in his own house. I live in my own house. And I told you the fuel that I use as a deputy minister of transport was 1,400 cedis. So let us paint any picture as if ministers of state, there's so much money that is being given to us.
Nobody
the
has said
budget that goes into compensation and what do you call it? CapEx. The budget of the ministry goes into compensation and what the CapEx. So let us be very careful. One want to attack ministers and deputy ministers and want to make a presentation as if they are siphoning state money. It is never true. So what I'm saying is that those NDC colleagues that voted were looking at the national interest first than looking at what they call the whipping system that they were asked to do. They wanted to fill the vacuum. I want to stall the process of the governance. Is that what we want to paint the picture? It's unfortunate. Senior said something about relationship. In this politics that we do, no matter the differences that we have, first of all, we are Ghanaians. We are each other's keeper. Whilst in the chamber, I have wonderful relationship from friends on the other side. My colleagues for the MPP are there. I say wonderful relationship. I don't want to mention their names.
What's the point of this argument?
The point I want to make is that sometimes relationship also matters. It counts.
If it does matter, why is it that on the vote of censure, as again mooted by the minority, we didn't have your side of the house, which is the majority, which also had posited a position, indeed, from 95, I remember, 98, and ultimately the entire majority caucus, even marching to the president, that his finance minister was not good enough for them, according to what they say their constituents were indicating to them. Why didn't you support the minority at the time?
Roland Walker.
Yes, sir.
We had our own methodology in handling.
When it comes to this issue, this one is different.
Down. But when we voted, my colleagues voted for Honorable Bagby, Right Honorable Speaker, to become the ultimate umpire in the chamber. They were happy. What is more powerful than that? That to be the umpire in the chamber, the head of the legislature, they were happy about it. So what is wrong here? I don't get it. What is wrong here? This matter is ended. For me, we are building a country. And you see, Senior, I want to send this message to take it to your national chairman and your general secretary. The day the two of them were elected, I said, look, these guys, they will destroy your party. The adversarial position of Osedu Ketia and Fifi Kwete in handling NDC.
Who are you to indicate how they operate?
I'm not the same.
Weren't we in this country where we're general secretary and then the chair of the opposition
party? You are quiet.
Yeah, because of the point you're
Please, I don't like these things. People are watching us.
All of us
and
are
friends
watching
tell
ourselves.
me sometimes the way you interject me is not fair. And I'm telling you, stop doing that.
No.
When I'm flowing, allow me to flow.
No, please.
So if you want to interject, wait when I finish.
No.
Sometimes you distort my flow. It's monakai. It's monakai.
But when the arguments are cogent and all of us who have nothing
I'm saying that adversarial, that tension that you want to build, as if MPP people in the chamber are evil, are witches, or whatever.
Who said that?
I'm saying that position that the NDC under this leadership they are painting is wrong. It is bad, and we must state it.
Can I?
Is it the position that you hold that in replacing the ministers, it is just for the fun of it, but rather sending a message to the multilateral partners the Bretton Woods institutions were negotiating with? Even just recently, the German ambassador did say that indeed, if you want to be in this state, you have to reduce your expenditure. And it's for the optics. Is that not the argument?
Exactly. Look, I went to school with Kenneth Royata. I know him well.
Which school? Yale?
Achimoto School.
Oh.
And we have a long-standing relationship. It doesn't stop me from saying that. I believe that where we are now, holding that position of finance minister, is not in the interest of the country. Because for the optics, not about his competence or his ability or what he's achieved, for the optics, it doesn't bode well for you to go and sit before negotiators who believe that your handling of a system has led the country into a certain sphere. For the optics, put another face there. It's not personal. It's not personal. That's why I say friendships exist. But if you want to look at the national interest, we should have won this with them even by a margin. And they should be rather complaining, oh, why did our people let us down? Because the optics are clear. You want to send a message that we are doing everything as a country to assist. Right now, they are saying to us, vote in a way so that our taxes, let this tax go through, because we want to let people know that as a country we are trying to help. And yet, you as a government don't want to show that your system must remain the same.
Well, he says it's just a replacement.
It's not about replacement. We said reduce it. Look, when you came into power 6 years ago, you did the unprecedented. You had 120 ministers at a certain point. There was an argument. I said 125, they said 122 or 123. Fine. It's a moot point because anything over 100 was a problem. And why am I saying it? In this term, with the same 16 regions, you have been able to do 86. Why didn't you do it before? It could be done. Do it. The reason why you have done it this time is because you have less MPs in Parliament. And you actually need to have 50% plus one from Parliament. It's got nothing to do with, I didn't want to do it or I want to do it. Your hand was pushed because you don't have enough MPs to make all of them ministers and then deal with it. You now have a situation where you want to give the optics and the right impression to the people you are going to ask to assist you to solve a problem. What you do is, I've lost 3 minutes. Okay, look, we are going to demonstrate that we are dealing with this issue. You, who is a minister, add this ministry to your portfolio. You who is here, the deputy, hold here for a while. It has happened even in our time. But for the optics, when you are going to an IMF program or trying to get in, what is not logical about what I'm saying? But every time, it's almost as if anything you say, you can say, but I'm going to do what I want to do. And then you are still going to the same people. Now you've missed another deadline. Or it looks like we were supposed to be able to have got this thing.
We have missed another deadline.
I'm waiting for the match to end. Because we still have 3 days. Anything can happen. So, as it looks, that March deadline is going to be a goner. Every deadline our president gives, every credibility, his credibility is short because of this. And by the way, happy birthday to our president. Me and him will have one thing in common, that we all support Tottenham Hotspur. But that's another matter. So it's, for me, the optics are wrong. We are sending the wrong messages out there. And then we, our MPs, sit down and talk about friendships. As he said,
But our friendship's not important.
Why? If
they had good lobbying skills, that's the argument.
Speaker of Parliament, we won by 1 vote. As I said earlier, maybe they had 2, possibly 3, excuse me to say, renegade people who decided they didn't go. It's not all your, side that, went down that road. But in this case, we are talking 30, 40 people voted. And when you go into the details of what we as a political party have been saying, one, about Brian Achampong, which he tried to explain when he was questioned, but even his explanation, we say, fine, if you give this explanation, but nobody has been held responsible for the actions in Ayawa's West Wuogon, we take your explanation with a pinch of salt. Because somebody should be responsible for what went on. It was wrong. We all know this. Our friend, I keep forgetting his name, who, one of your colleagues who was crying on telly when you were in opposition, that things are so hard and whatever. Sticker. The sticker. The commentary that he makes. I would never have agreed that without he should be passed. So there are individual issues, forget. But we decided, look, all those individual issues, relationships will then come into the matter. But on this global one, where we are sending a clear message to government that, hey, regardless of what you think of it, this is not necessary. They failed us. And I commend those MPs who stuck with the whip. I give them full credit. So I'm always careful that this doesn't turn into a witch hunt because we are in our primary stage. So if somebody doesn't want somebody, he'll say, oh, he didn't, and that sort of thing. So let's be clear that we know who did. Let's not say, that's why when you said the side, and he's saying, I'm saying not all of them. But those who were part of this, they should bow down their heads in shame.
What do you expect from them as a leadership of the party?
Well, we are looking at it. It's not here. I am not, as an individual, I can only express my dissatisfaction and disappointment in those who let us down. As to what steps or how it's going to be looked at, that's a matter for the party. And I think the party as a whole have decided that this was unacceptable. And all these excuses or people are trying to explain, and people are saying, look, we have a whip system. If you don't like, go independent. It's not everything that you have. This was a complete, and it is in line with the national position.
Understand. You mean you're ready to sacrifice members of Parliament?
No, I'm saying that if you know that you cannot adhere to such a system, you have no business coming to apply to be an MP on our ticket. I'm not saying that those that are, I'm saying in generality. Why? You've just given a clear example. When it was the censure, 88 or so of their men had even asked for the minister to leave. When the time came, didn't they all walk out of Parliament? Wasn't it the whip system? Why didn't 10 or 15 or the 80 sit down and say, we've heard what you have said, but we have decided that the finance minister must go. So we will sit here with the minority and do. Did they do that? That one, they didn't have friendships. They didn't have friendships on our side. All those friends he's talking about, here he has gone here, we know about the friendships. We even outside, we have friends in there. But when it comes to party political position,
it's the position of the party that's paramount.
And there's a whole whip system. The whole hierarchy of the party comes and gets involved. You can't say that, listen, they didn't send one person to go and talk to them or what. No. The whole hierarchy of the party got involved. So what is this?
Now, to answer, when you were a member of Parliament, you also followed a certain thorough whipping system, is that not it?
Certainly.
Okay.
But
so why is this a surprise?
Listen to Alex and some of the recriminations against so-called renegades is the fact that they want to chase them out. They want to fish them out. If you're not careful, it is going to raise another challenge for you. This is free advice. It is very difficult to determine who did what.
I agree on that.
It is very, very difficult. And if you are not careful, you go and touch an innocent soul. Well, those who voted in favor are there. So for me, it's an in-house problem that they need to fix.
Amen.
And
We are fixing
and
it.
I think that we are building a country together. We need them in opposition. They said that Forson is the magic wand who will come to change the face of the minority. We were here when the Sidun Ketia said he's an economist, and this election is going to be based on economists. You need somebody from the central region, you need somebody from the western region, and all kinds of defense for the change of their leadership. We all wish them well, but we are running a country. His Excellency the President appreciates the challenges in which we find ourselves in. 2023 is a year of recovery, and he's working hard to make sure these challenge times in which
You
we
think
find
we are
ourselves,
recovering?
we are moving towards that. I have read from the portals, the finance minister was in China, and when I was watching Ghana Tonight, Alfred indicated the statement by the Chinese.
He's
finance
gone back in
minister.
the Chinese.
Of course, why? If we are owing, asking for moratorium, give a space to enable us to organize ourselves and pay back our debt. There's nothing wrong about it. So the Chinese have given a firm commitment to assist us to come out of this challenge that we find ourselves. So let's cool down.
Oh, as for cool, we are cool. But we should also be allowed to express
Well,
our
nobody
total
stops you.
disappointment in what has happened. And let us all know that. And like I agree, we don't want a witch hunt. If you are going to indicate or be sure that certain people have, you must be clear. And that is a difficulty in itself. But it is being done, it's being looked at. And when we have the information, it will be put to perhaps.
Have you had an interaction with the former president on this subject?
No, not directly.
No, okay. Now, what will be the main formal message from the leadership? And you as an individual,
Our message is clear. It has no bearing for our NDC members and the floating. It has no bearing on the 2024 elections. Let's be clear. We are dealing with a particular issue and a specific issue of a few people. NDC is still poised to win the next election. And we should focus and deal with issues that come. We have a lot of issues as a party bordering on indiscipline across board. And it is time that we start whipping people into line. But it has no bearing on our focus of winning the 2024 election. So I've heard a lot of people say, oh, look, we are not sure they are one and the same. No. Sometimes you have a few renegades. In the same way, if you don't let people know how disgruntled you are. Why? We won the first major one by a couple of votes. And we were all clapping for the MPs. Because we were clapping for them, they thought that they had free hand and went and messed up. Because that mess up too was there. Just past the ministers. We said, hey, why? We told them off. By the time we got to the next thing, you saw that they were now together and braced up. So we have to keep on it. You must be on their case. Don't let people think that they do and, because, no. If it's wrong, you tell everybody that it's wrong, and it is wrong.
Has this affected the grassroots of the party? And
yes, it has.
How is it resonating with them? How are they
They are
reacting?
very disappointed. They are even more disappointed than we are. And worse than that, it's affected the floating voter. Because the floating voter is looking for an alternative. There are three things you need to win an election. The first thing is that the government must be doing everything in its power to lose the election. That one is already in the bag, it's done. The second is that you as a political party must be able to demonstrate that you are in a position to take power. We are failing on it at the moment. Or there are question marks on it. So we were doing so well. And this wants to become a hiccup. It's not. And I'm telling people, no. Don't lose focus. We are on course. Grassroots, dust ourselves. You have always renegades. Nothing good comes easy. So we have this challenge. We'll deal with it.
Okay.
And then the third one is count your ballot. No matter how well you do, when you get to the election, if you can't count your ballot.
Okay. Now, based on what you pick up from the grassroots, can this affect the outcome of the primaries of these MPs?
We haven't named anybody as being renegade.
I'm not saying you have.
But it is being used, and that's why I'm saying we have to be careful with the witch hunt. Or
No,
what is
no one is witch hunting them, but
Yeah.
the,
But the impression-
the grassroots, if they are angry, could also show that sort of anger in the
will-
outcome of the primary.
So, but you don't want it to be used as a tool against innocent MPs. So that is why I'm saying it is, and Titus is the one place where I agree with him. You have to be careful because there are opponents in every constituency. They will try to use this opportunity to give the impression that a sitting MP has been part of this, when maybe the person has got nothing and voted clearly. So we don't want to get innocent MPs suffering from the grassroots, because yes, people will the grassroots may vote against them. It is a reality.
And you're saying that they should hold on.
That is why
they should look at the issue.
They should look at the issue.
Is it possible? You have been an MP. Is it possible that some of these grievances, if they keep increasing at the base, could affect somebody's fortunes at the primaries?
Naturally, certainly. You see,
It means they have to be careful.
Sometimes they will speak things that are untrue, and they can package it so well. And when they spill it on the ground, you are done. You are done. You are completely done. And where are you to go and defend yourselves? Mm-hmm. When you are busy in the chamber working, your opponent is on the ground, running routes with some of these lies against you. It happened to me. Do you understand? So they need to be very careful about some of these things that they do. And I heard Alex saying that they are going to win the election. Hey, be careful. When you go and drink your attire, you go and drink your attire. The former president said, you give them attire. You overdrink your attire. When you lose the election, don't come and blame anybody. So, agree form, you think that because of this economic condition, so that is a foregone conclusion?
No.
So that is a foregone conclusion.
That was my last thing.
No. So please, you say you are winning this election.
must
So
count our votes.
I'm saying that
because we will know what happened.
We are equally determined to make sure
yes,
we win this election to break the 8. You understand? So continue to go and drink your attire. When you drink, you overdrink your attire and you lose, and that is your problem.